Welcome back. You are watching Newscentre. The government is considering higher financial incentives for IT hardware companies under the PLI scheme in order to boost investments. The PLI scheme for IT hardware has so far seen a muted response. The government plans to increase financial outlay to around 19,000 crore rupees and double the incentive rates for the sector. Presently, the draft proposal has been circulated within the industry for a feedback. It's yet to go to the cabinet. Let me go across now to Aruna Sharma, former secretary at the Ministry of Electronics and IT, Pankaj Mohindroo, chairman at the India Cellular and Electronics Association. Thank you very much for joining us. Aruna Sharma, why do you think the PLI scheme for IT hardware in this form did not really take off? Was it because the incentive size was too small for some of the bigger players like Apple, like Samsung, for that matter?
Let me put it this way. The PLI scheme was very effective when we got the mobile assembly manufacturers in India. And that time the hand-holding was done by giving them an advantage. Today you have an import duty, zero duty, as per the signatory of this 19971TA-1, which allows completely built unit at zero duty to be imported. So on one hand, you have an import competition with a zero duty, and second hand is to encourage the local manufacturer. So therefore, it is very important to have a holistic thing in this policy, and that's why you did get applicants. And then if you look at the qualifying numbers they have put for the investment and production, now these qualifying numbers are very high. I think very few will qualify for this whenever they are going, and therefore there is a need to have a relook. Then parallelly, PLI scheme has to be sort of in sync with your other schemes that you are doing, like your GEM portal. You know, you have come up with an amendment in the rule where you are talking about, 200 crores calculation of a local manufacturer. And that is something which the entire sector is little concerned about, because then it sort of creates a problem if they are not going to get a public procurement in a very big way. And if you look at it, then to be qualified as a class 1 focal supplier status, it becomes very, very difficult for them to get, because original equipment manufacturing in India contract has to be worked out to that lessons. So the idea is very good to encourage the local manufacturing, but then there is a chain of it. And there has to be, like GST, you should have the credits pass on. So whatever a local manufacturer is making a parts of it or some portions of it which slowly starts getting indigenized, then definitely that kind of a credit should be there, made available to them. And it is very, very important that this local content, what we are talking about, has to be worked in sync. And that is one of the reasons that your PIL scheme, along with the procurement policies, along with other policies, they all have to be synced to get a better response from the manufacturers.
All right, let me get in Pankaj Mohindroo to get an industry view. Pankaj Mohindroo, the government has been consulting industry bodies, also some of the global manufacturers, to understand what they really want, what the PLI scheme is missing right now. What is the kind of feedback you've received from the likes of Apple, Samsung, Dell, HP, for that matter?
We are extremely happy that the government is constantly reevaluating policies and...
You're on mute, sir.
Sorry. No, I'm not. I'm not on mute. Can you hear me?
Okay, my apologies. Yes.
The government is constantly reevaluating schemes which have not taken off as expected. And I think you see, PLI is not about public procurement, etc. PLI is about creating global scale and getting India a place in the global manufacturing ecosystem, which also includes the domestic market, which is quite tiny as far as IT hardware is concerned. We are just about 2% of the world. Now, in the $300 billion aspiration target, which we are determined to achieve, that cannot be done only on smartphones. The other verticals have to kick in. So we have a substantial number for IT hardware by 25-26, which is about $25 to $30 billion. With 25 to 30 billion dollars, also we are just about 12 to 15% of the global market. But that is what we are trying to achieve. Now, certainly, there is deep concern about the rising import, which is reached about $8 billion. It's a very fast-growing category, although the market size is very small in India compared to global market. So that, plus the fact that we are not wanting to have any import substitution policy here because of the fact that a global scale is trying to be created. So on these basis, the scheme which was giving an average of 2.2% did not find too much favor with the industry. And now the revision which is being discussed seems to be such that it will have a positive impact. And we are very confident that most companies will take advantage of this and look at the targets very seriously. And I think it's still in the making, but we are cautiously optimistic about the outcomes now.
Okay, and Mr. Mohindroo, could you also give us a sense of what are the additional components which will be added to the scheme? Right now, we know about tablets, laptops, servers, all-in-one PCs, which are covered under the current PLI framework for IT hardware. What could Scheme 2.0 have in terms of additional components?
It's in discussion at the moment, but there is additional what is being planned, the structure which is being planned are additional benefits you get on deepening the value chain. So there are components, sub-assemblies like PCB, PCBA, battery pack, power module, the mechanics, which is the chassis. Mechanics is loosely used for smartphones. So here some different terminologies are used because this is a much older industry. Then the display panel, then the memory modules, the assembling of the memory modules, the assembling of the solid state drive, and we have these two microprocessors, Shakti and Vega, which are there now, which India has been able to produce. Now, if a SoC, a system on chip, on these microprocessors is created, then there is a additional benefit which is envisaged. That is really deep and profound, and this is a aspiration which is very audacious. But I think the way we are able to make things happen, this will also happen. But of course, a lot of ducks need to be lined up for that, which is our academic institutions, our SoC companies, which includes startups and companies which are already doing it. So all these things will have to be lined up, the productization, and then finally what we are able to do in terms of taking these products to the market. These SoCs will be available to all that is there. So on one side, there is the organic stuff, which is the hardware, which has to be put together, the sub-assemblies and the other components which I mentioned. And then this parallel exercise of the use of Shakti and Vega with the SoCs. This is what the broad discussions are.
All right, those are the broad contours. Ms. Sharma, coming back to you, from what we are getting to know from the government, the current incentives range from 1 to 4%. It increases over a 4-year period. And in the new scheme that the government is discussing right now, the incentives could be in the range of 4.5 to 7.5%. Would this be good enough to attract some of the larger electronic manufacturers? And what would be the most important piece in the puzzle, according to you?
You are very right.
Incentives in the earlier scheme are actually going down. they come down. That's the architecture is like that. They don't
4 to
increase.
1%. 4 to 1%. It's 4 to 1%.
No.
It's 4 to 1%.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr.
4 to yes.
Wanted to mention about it that, and the idea is good, that incentive is something. India being a huge market, it is very, very important that everybody is looking at it and encouraging it with the Make in India concept, where we want an import replacement. It is very important to make these people who are ready to invest in India and shift their manufacturing from other places or their parent countries or other countries to India. The government procurement, it should not be sort of ignored, because if I take the example of laptop, 50% is now imported, and it may go to 10,000 crores of all in coming days. So in the sense, if it is to be cross-checked, every piece of the market should be made attractive to these people who are investing in India, whether it is the public sector procurement, whether it's a market sales that is happening, and therefore imports substitution incentive is to be given in policy. Money is not the main driver as far as the hardware industry is concerned in the subsidy part of it. What is more important is a reverse engineering from the market preference. Let me give you an example what we did in steel. We said the preference will be given to those who make in India. And that did the trick. When we started giving the preference, they don't need so much of these kind of an incentive. Initially, money incentive is fine to give it a push. And it is the market which sits on the driving seat. And that is where this policy should focus upon. They're doing a reverse engineering that from the market of creating a market by allowing them as a preference thing, whether it's your GEM platform procurement, whether it's a market procurement, allowing them, and import substitution policy assistance or facilitation, all this when it sinks, then definitely it is going to trigger on. People are interested, people will apply to it, and the whole chain of upstream and downstream will also start getting shifted to India. So that is going to make a huge difference. Plus, there is a talk now going about sort of bringing similar to PLI scheme for the semiconductors. And that is also going to trigger it off when we are talking of these semiconductors, that you have to get the latest of the technology. It can't be outdated technology because it's a fast moving technology of the hardware. So the mistake which we did in the previous scheme, and I will agree to that it's not just assembly. We want actual manufacturing to happen in India. And that is the trigger point of the PLI. That is the intention of PLI. That should be the focus of the PLI.
All right. We've run out of time, but thank you very much, Ms. Sharma and Ms. Pankaj Mohindroo, for joining us. We believe that the government would very soon like to take this to the cabinet for approval, PLI 2.0 for the IT hardware industry. Thank you very much for joining us on this edition of News Centre. News continues on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned.